How nice to be here with you all. May I ask, first of all, whose house are we in? Oh, it's your house. Oh, and you. I see, I thought it might be. Well, Hare Krishna. Thank you for having us. And what is your good name?
Carl.
Carl.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Carl. And your name?
Radha-Duti.
Radha-Duti. Oh, that's nice. Well, yes, thank you for having us. And so nice to be here with all of you, devotees. And we received a request, I guess, a few things we could, to select from that we could talk about. And if it's okay with you, I chose the story of the Kaliya serpent. Yes, that's an interesting story. And of course, the Kaliya serpent is one of the demons from Krishna's Vrindavan Lila. And as such, he represents a particular, what we call, anartha. Are you familiar with this term? Yeah? Yes, a particular anartha, some undesirable quality or aspect of character, that sort of idea. Yes, which is, he represents that, and he displays that in this particular case very directly. And that is the anartha. It is the anartha of envy, but in a particular form. Because just before Kaliya, a few chapters before in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there was the discussion about Aghasura, who's also in the form of a snake. And he also represents envy in certain respects. Of course, envy is a multifaceted phenomenon. But in the case of Kaliya, Kaliya represents envy in the sense of, in the form of, poisoning the hearts of devotees and other people perhaps, but particularly devotees, by talking badly about other devotees, other people, but particularly other devotees. And I imagine you've had some experience, you've encountered that sort of phenomenon before. Yes, in this material world, it happens that people, some people, they really become envious of others for different reasons. But in this case, this Kaliya, he represents poisoning the hearts of devotees with nasty talk like criticizing and that sort of thing, criticizing other devotees, which is just not good at all. It's not nice at all. So anyway, let us have a look at the subject. We'll go through the pastime and then talk a little bit about envy and what it is and what to do about it and how to counteract it and that sort of thing. So in that way it's a very practical and useful subject, because here we are in this material world and we are prone sometimes at least to become influenced by lower qualities. It's one thing for other people to become envious, but if we become envious, that's not nice, it's not good for us. It's not good for anyone, but particularly it's not good for us, and we have to really try to sort ourselves out and improve ourselves. Yes, and ultimately, we should try to develop love for Krishna, and by developing love for Krishna, we can develop love for everyone, because everyone's part of Krishna, and in that sense, if we love Krishna, we should love others because they're part of Krishna. So anyway, let's go into this subject here. First of all, devotees, you can just repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Yes, right. So, first of all, let me chant a couple of prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachati Shatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yes, sometimes our devotees, they're very humble and very gentle and sincere people, and they don't want to push themselves forward, so they sit as far to the back as they can. They could merge into the wall, they might do it. But yes, anyway, we've got space here. It's nice facility. So let's, just relax. So this pastime then, the not killing, but subduing of the Kaliya serpent. This is all you would remember from your place. We were talking about the different demons that Krishna mainly killed, but not always. But, there were 21 as recorded in the Bhagavatam. There was a lot more than that, but in the Bhagavatam, 21 are recorded, and most of them he killed, which, might not sound very nice, but the thing is, when these demons were killed by Krishna, they were all liberated. They were all delivered from their entanglements in this world and returned to the kingdom of God. Just like last night, we were in Baltimore temple. Nice temple. And we talked about, there was a few we talked about who died, different people and even animals who died under certain Krishna conscious circumstances, and they returned to the kingdom of God. And we read the verse. You remember the verse? What was it? 2:23. Pretty good. In that verse, one great devotee, Uddhava, is lamenting because Lord Krishna has just left this world, just like a matter of, it might be days or a couple of weeks before, just very recently. Krishna's left this world now, and Uddhava, who was very close to Krishna, was thinking, who will look after me? Who will help me? Yes, who will instruct me now that Krishna has gone? And who can take his place? Because he was so merciful that he gave the demon Putana the position like a nanny, a nurse. He gave Putana the position of a nanny in the kingdom of God, despite her extreme disqualifications. Basically, she had no qualifications. If any, it was just a little scrap. But Krishna accepted that little qualification, tiny little qualification, and just overlooked all her horrible, absolutely horrible nature. And sent her back to Goloka Vrindavan. Yes. So, yes, right. So, it may sound a little sort of brutal or brutish that there are all these people. Krishna killed most of them, and, we're happy about it. But the thing is that those were acts of mercy on his part, because he's the Supreme Lord. And when this happens to people in his presence, then they return to the kingdom of God. And otherwise, it's not easy to return to the kingdom of God. Right, so anyway, so here we are. The story of the subduing of the Kaliya serpent. And this interesting little point is that this particular pastime takes place on the appearance day of Lord Balaram. Yes, the appearance day of Lord Balaram, which is just some days or a week or whatever it is, just a few days before Krishna Janmashtami, the birthday of Krishna. And as a result, because of that, Balaram was not present. He was at home having a party with his mother. Yes, that's what he was doing. So he was not there. And, all this drama. If you're familiar with the story at all, are you familiar with the story? To some degree, yeah. If you're familiar with that story, then you would know that because Balaram was not there, at least initially, when Krishna was sort of, you could say, captured by the Kaliya serpent, then when the people in the village heard, because this happened down by the river some distance from the village, but when the people in the village heard, there was a common sort of agreement, understanding that this has happened because Balaram was not there. If Balaram had been there, it wouldn't have happened. Everything would be all right. But now because he was not there, everything is not all right. It's just a terrible situation. And so they were thinking like that. Right, because you know that there's a little history behind it. It goes back to the time of Lord Ram, that when Lord Ram was present, Lakshman was his younger brother, then Lakshman, there were certain things which Lord Ram did which Lakshman did not appreciate, and in fact he thought they were mistakes. And he thought that, if I was the older brother, I would not have done that, and this problem would not have arisen. Like when Sita was kidnapped, then Lakshman had advised Ram, don't chase after that deer. You remember? This little deer, very beautiful, but it was a magical deer. And Sita wanted to have the deer as a pet. And so Ram was ready to go and capture it. But Lakshman said, no, don't do that. Something is wrong. This is very strange. This is not an ordinary deer, so just let the deer go. But Sita insisted and Ram insisted. And then eventually, long story, but Sita was kidnapped. And Ram blamed Lakshman that I told you to stay with her. And let's not get into all the details. But basically, Lakshman ended up thinking, blame me, all right. But it was your decision to chase the deer. If you'd done what I said, then we would have just stayed here together, everything would have been fine, and that would have been that. So Lakshman thought, next time, I'm going to be the older brother, and I will look after things properly. See that everything gets done properly. But next thing was when Sita was rescued and Ram wanted her to walk through fire. And Lakshman told Ram, no, don't do that. Everybody knows she's pure. There's no need to make her walk through fire to prove her purity. And on top of that, who's going to build the fire? No one's going to build the fire for her to walk through. Everyone will refuse. And Ram said, well, actually, Lakshman, someone will build the fire. You will build it. Because you're the younger brother. You have to do what I say. And so Lakshman had to build the fire, but all the time he was thinking, this is not the right thing at all. Next time, I will be the older brother and will deal with these situations properly. And finally, the third time was when Ram wanted Sita to be exiled to the forest. And he spoke to Lakshman about it. It's also a bit of a long story. This is what I want done, that someone should take her to the forest and just leave her there and come back and just leave her in the forest. And Lakshman said, no one's going to do that. Who would do that? No one would dream of doing such a thing. And Ram said, actually, Lakshman, someone is going to do it. You're going to do it. And Lakshman was like, oh, come on. But he couldn't say anything because he's the younger brother. So then he was convinced, third time and you're out, right? Third time and you're out. So he decided, that is it. I am going to become the older brother next time. So next time he was the older brother. He was Balaram. Yes. So everyone was aware in Vrindavan, in the village, all the devotees were aware that Balaram, as the older brother, was very mature, very responsible, very sober. He wouldn't let any nonsense go on. He'd just tell everyone, don't do this, do that. Right, whereas Krishna was a bit more sort of mischievous. So, but on this day, Balaram was not there because it was his birthday. He was having a birthday party with his mother. Yeah, back in the village. So anyway, as the story goes, Krishna and the cowherd boys and the cows, not the calves. The other day, whenever it was, we were talking about the calves, Krishna and the calves, Vatsasura. So now this is Krishna with the cows, and the cowherd boys, they went down to the Yamuna. That place is there, more or less. Kaliya Ghat, if you're familiar with Vrindavan town, the place is still there, although the Ganges is flowing generally further away. So they all came down, and they were all feeling thirsty, and all of them, except Krishna, drank from the Yamuna. But what happened was, everyone, all the cowherd boys and the cows, dropped dead because the Yamuna waters were poisoned. They were poisoned because Kaliya had been living there. There was or is, whenever there's a lot of water going through, there's a lake there. It's called Kaliya Daha. And it's a fairly extensive lake. Goes out from, if you know where that Kaliya Ghat is, and the Madan Mohan temple just a few hundred meters down, goes out. Must be a couple of kilometers or something like that, all the way over to Bailvan. So there's a lake there in Kaliya. The Kaliya serpent was living there. And the Kaliya serpent was so poisonous that he had poisoned all the waters of the whole lake. In fact, to such an extent that that lake, the water, was constantly boiling because, generally the fact is that poison acts through the element of fire. Yeah, poison acts through the element of fire. So through all this poison, the lake was boiling, the water was boiling, and vapor was going up. And whenever a bird would fly by, then the bird would, flying over through these vapors, would just die and just fall down into the lake. It was really just a terrible situation. But the pastimes are pastimes, and somehow or other, the Krishna, the cowherd boys at least, and the cows, they didn't know about that. Or at least at that point, they were not aware of that. Although Kaliya had been there, Kaliya appeared in the first generation of snakes in the whole universe. And he had been there for many yugas. So it was just like what they call the Lila Shakti. The pastime potency was acting on them. Otherwise, it's quite close to the village, this lake, Kaliya Daha. Everybody would know you don't go anywhere near that lake. But here they are, they went down and they drank. So yeah, this is all sort of part of the mystery of the Leelas. So they all dropped dead. And then Krishna, yes. Well, there's a nice description here. Let me just read. It's just a couple of 2 to 3 sentences from Jiva Goswami Gopal Champu. Seeing the boys and the cows, particularly the boys and the cows, in that state, Krishna, with his heart melting, glanced at all the boys and cows. His lips became moist, and his eyes filled with tears of great regret. The streams of tears falling on earth like drops of nectar revived the boys. But those who were not immediately in front of him did not regain consciousness immediately, because he wanted to see each boy personally and interact and revive each boy personally. This is Krishna. Krishna's an amazing person. I mean, oftentimes devotees, everyone, we know about Krishna. Krishna's great, Krishna's God, Krishna's wonderful. But the qualities of Krishna are just very amazing, very profound, and very beautiful, incredible qualities of Krishna. I'll give you one example. Krishna, one of his qualities is truthfulness. He's truthful. Before the battle of Kurukshetra, Kunti Devi, the mother of the Pandavas. Do we all know who the Pandavas are? You know? You know? Right. Because I don't know what you people know and don't know here, so just checking. Yeah. Pandavas. Arjuna, very prominent. Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. And then Yudhisthira, Bhima, and so on, Nakula, Sahadev. Lala, Lale, Shanti, Shanti, Om Shanti, Om. Do you need someone to manage you, children? Okay, anyway, let us try and focus and not get distracted. Yes, so there we were. And the quality of truthfulness before the great battle, just like a few days before the battle, Kunti, the mother of the Pandavas, approached Lord Krishna and said, this great battle is going to happen, and practically everyone will be killed. Millions, practically all of them, will be killed. But please, my request of you is, please protect my sons, and please see that they're not killed. And Krishna said, yes, I will do that. I will make sure. So he gave his word. And as it worked out, they were not killed. They survived the battle, although the great, like 99% did not survive, but they survived. They survived by Krishna's mercy, actually. There are different situations in which Krishna intervened, and they survived those situations. So, right, at the end, or just after the battle, then Kunti came back to Krishna and thanked him. Thank you, you upheld your word, you were truthful. And she said to Krishna, one day the sun may become cold, and one day snow may become hot, but I know your word will never change. You'll always be truthful, particularly to the devotees. So yes, Krishna has these amazing qualities, and he didn't just bring them all back to life just like that, but he went to each one personally and revived each one, because that's Krishna. He is just such a wonderful, wonderful person. So now everyone's revived, all the cows, all the cowherd boys, they're all revived. But Lord Krishna is looking out into the lake, and he's aware, and everyone is now aware, that it's Kaliya who is out there in the lake. Somewhere he's out there, some distance away from the shore. And Krishna thought, right, that's it. That's it, I've had it. I'm not going to tolerate this Kaliya any longer. And basically he resolved to kill him, although he didn't kill him as things worked out. But he resolved like that. So what Krishna did, there were no living trees or even grass or bushes because of the poison. For like a kilometer back from the lake, there was just nothing living except one tree, one kadamba tree, which is still there. And at least we understand, or it sounds like the tree which is there today, which you may have seen, if you've been there, you would have seen, big old kadamba tree. It sounds like it is the actual original tree from thousands of years ago, because in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a description when Lord Chaitanya went to Vrindavan. It says he saw the original tree, the original kadamba tree. So there was this great kadamba tree which Garuda had placed some like amrita, some special nectarian substance on the roots of, so it survived despite the poison in the air and just the poison everywhere. Right, so Krishna walked out there, and even to this day there's still one branch which sticks out across where the Yamuna used to run. Krishna went walking out on that branch. And then, does anyone know what Krishna did then? If you know, you are worthy of getting a special prize.
He jumped into the lake from the branch.
No, he didn't. Well, he did, but that was not the next thing he did. There's something else he did, which is a little important. Two things. First thing, he tightened his belt, as wrestlers do. That's what the Bhagavatam says, when they're going to wrestle. Then he made a funny sound with his arm, like that. And usually when we tell the story, we ask some of the youngsters, someone, to please demonstrate that for us. Would anyone like to volunteer? Anyway, you know what I mean, so it's all right. Okay, yeah, so that's what Krishna did. And then he jumped in. But when he jumped in, he made such a splash that he created a tsunami. A giant wave just went out into the middle of the lake. And Krishna at that time, he's a small boy, I forget exactly, but He might be 6 or 7 or 8, maybe 8 years old, or 6 or 7 or something. So he's just a small boy. And he jumped into the lake. But somehow the impact created a tsunami. How could it be? Because it's just a little boy, by normal standards, I don't know, maybe he weighed 20 kilos or 15 kilos or something like that. It's not much at all. But the reason that a tsunami was created is because even though Krishna looks like a little boy, actually Krishna contains everything. All the planets, all the universes, even the spiritual world, and all living entities, they're within the body of Krishna. And so it's sort of like, you could say, something like an optical illusion. He appears like little boy, a nice little boy. But actually, everything is within him. And if everything lands in the water at one time, it'll make a splash, won't it? It'll make really, what an impact. So this tsunami went out, and Kaliya was out there somewhere, some distance out, in the middle of the lake, and he is known as Shrava Chakshu. Yeah, Shrava Chakshu. Or Chakshu Shrava. He has no ears. He hears through his eyes. And he heard the splash. And he thought, who is that rascal who's jumped into my lake? And then came the tsunami, which just about, in surfing terms, just about wiped him out completely. Just devastated him completely. What has happened here? So he's looking around, who's the rascal? Where's the rascal? And Krishna came swimming out. Now, then a very interesting thing happened, and very important thing in terms of the pastime, that Krishna came swimming out with, determined to fight with him and attack him and just, kill him, he was thinking at the time. But somehow or other, it's part of the pastime. That's what it is. Kaliya grabbed hold of Krishna first and wrapped his coils around Krishna and held Krishna. Now, for a common snake, even a very powerful common, like a big python, something like that, to hold Krishna and just hold him so Krishna is immobilized and cannot do anything about it. Well, that's not possible, but that's what happened. Or really, that's what Krishna allowed to happen. He allowed to happen that the serpent just grabbed hold of him and apparently had Krishna under his control. And apparently Krishna's sort of helpless, trapped there. Of course he's not, but anyway, he's conducting himself like that. So the cowherd boys and the cows, they didn't know what to do. They panicked. And let me just read, this is now a few sentences. It looks like 4 sentences from Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Standing by the shore, the cows, bulls, calves, and other domestic animals from the village, as well as all the wild animals from all the forests of Rajmandala, all cried, fixing their eyes on Krishna's face and screaming in agony. Crying pitifully, the birds flew over the lake and dived into the waters. The trees and other plants became dry and withered. Many great calamities happened. Then, sent by the Lord, an old man ran to Vraja village, crying and terribly calling out. He described what had happened. So the boys are like paralyzed. They just don't know what to do. They've lost control of themselves. And not only them, but the animals. The animals. Because the animals are fully devoted to Krishna. You know, some of you may have a dog or a cat. Do you? Some of your friends do, I'm sure. It's becoming more common in the Indian communities. Anyway, what do? We confiscate the next one. Yes. And sell it to defray expenses. Cost of our petrol coming here. So, yes, all the animals are just screaming in agony. The trees became dry and withered. Even the trees reacted, because even the trees love Krishna. This is, a level of existence we don't have experience of. But these things happen in the pastimes of Krishna. But then one old man went running back to the village and explained what happened. That Krishna is in the grips of this terrible serpent. He's dying. He's dying. Where's Nanda Maharaj? Where's Balaram? So everyone starts running down to the river, except Balaram. Balaram understands what's going on. The others, the residents of Vrindavan, they don't understand, because they're just so deeply absorbed in love for Krishna. They just take it that Krishna's in danger, he may die, and they panic. But Balaram knows what's going on, so Balaram was calling out, no, it's a lie. Don't become too anxious. We all know how powerful Krishna is. So just stay here, and I'll go down there, and I'll sort things out. But they're just too overwhelmed. So they all just ran out. And you might wonder, the question may arise, how did they know where to go? Because, the river's there, but the river goes all the way up, all the way down. Where on the river banks, which part of the river should they go to? But they knew. Do you know why? And if anyone knows this, you deserve a prize.
Steps of Krishna.
Sorry?
On the sand, maybe the steps of Krishna.
Well done. Good on you. We have a Krishna conscious person here. They follow Krishna's footsteps. Because even though, the animals running up and down in the forest, and Krishna had gone down with thousands of cows, not just calves, but cows. But all the animals avoided stepping on Krishna's footprints. Yeah, they would not walk, even the forest animals, the squirrels and so on. They would not walk on Krishna's footprints, ever. So therefore, Krishna's footprints going this way, going that way, they were always preserved, it says, as the treasures. They carefully preserved the Lord's footprints as their greatest treasures, the very ornaments of the earth, and they were never walked over by anyone. Isn't this amazing? Anyway, just try and take it in and appreciate what's going on. So anyway, they all run out there, and Balaram runs out there, but Balaram knows what's going on. So Balaram, when he gets out there, he thinks to himself, he talks to himself. Krishna does not take pleasure in playing with me like this in my form of Sheshanag. You know of Sheshanag? The divine serpent. This is a form of Balaram. So if he wants to play with snakes, why doesn't he play with me in my form as Sheshanag? And I'm much more powerful than this Kaliya. So why is he bothering with this low-level, low-class snake, the mundane, petty Kaliya? And the ladies are discussing, if only Balaram had gone out this morning, this would not have happened. But just see, we have to make sure Balaram goes out with Krishna every day. Right, so now the devotees, the adults, they start entering the waters to go and be with Krishna and try to help Krishna. But Balaram knows that, they're not capable. So he has to stop them. So Balaram stopped them. Sometimes he would call out, "Stop! Carl, stop! Don't go out. Radha duty. Don't go, just stay here." Sometimes he'd call out. Sometimes he would wave to them and just like that. And sometimes he would just glance at them and smile. And they were wondering, why is he smiling? There's nothing to smile about. But he's trying to stop them from going out, because the water's poisonous for one thing, and they don't have the power to do anything about Kaliya. So then, so what happens? Then Balaram thinks to himself, they're shedding tears in rivers, in waves. They're indiscriminately entering the river. So how can I check them? I cannot continue stopping them any longer. Yes, so then everyone let out a great, painful, terrible cry that made the entire world cry also. Then Balaram, awakened by this sound, because he himself was a bit carried away, with a great effort regained his peaceful composure and called out. Balaram calls out, "Oh Krishna, Krishna, these people are not your associates in Vaikuntha. They're not your monkey associates from Ayodhya. They're not the Yadu dynasty people. These are the people of Vraja. You are their only life and soul. Even though they have spiritual bodies, they're all going to die," which is impossible. But he's saying like that. Even though they have spiritual bodies, they're going to die. So, my Lord, I have no power to save them. So merciful Krishna, only friend of the people of Vraja, please give up this pastime. Stop this pastime. Otherwise your gentle heart will become filled with grief. So then Krishna, on the instruction of his older brother Balaram, he stops and he releases himself from Kaliya. And he gets up, climbs up onto the head of Kaliya and devotees. He starts dancing on, Kaliya had 1,000 heads, jumping and from one head to another, dancing there, jumping to another head. Really amazing. And the style of dancing, you're all familiar with Bharatanatyam, right? This was not Bharatanatyam. This was, what is it, where they stamp? Huh? Not Kathakali. Bhangra. What is that dancing?
Kathakali.
Kathak, yeah. They stand. Krishna was dancing like that. And all the gopis came out to join him. And they're all dancing. But Krishna was dancing Kathak, stamping his feet on Kaliya's heads. To the point, and you can imagine Krishna's everything. If you had everything dancing on your head, you'd have a sore head. So, Kaliya came to the point, he was on the verge of dying by the beating on his heads. But when he was just about to die, he got the idea, actually, this is Krishna. This is the Supreme Lord. I must surrender to him. But he couldn't speak. He was beaten so severely he could not speak any longer. So just within his mind, he was praying to Krishna, that Krishna, I am yours. I am yours. Please accept me. And Krishna, of course, Krishna being omniscient, he understood. So Krishna stopped dancing after a while and accepted Kaliya as a devotee because now Kaliya has become a devotee, having been beaten like that by Krishna. So, so he became a devotee, But you know what Krishna did? Krishna, you don't know? I think you know. Krishna banished him, told him, get out of Vrindavan. You can't stay. You're too much of an offender. Even though you've become a devotee, but still, you're not qualified to stay in Vrindavan, so go. So Krishna accepted him as a devotee, but banished him from Vrindavan. And they say, and even Prabhupada says, that it seems that he went to Fiji, because they have stories there. Well, you know, our main temple in Fiji is the Kaliya Krishna temple, because it's like accepted. You know, that Kaliya went there, and Kaliya may still be there. And you know what? Indradyumna Swami, if you know him, he's been there, I think, a couple of times, trying to find Kaliya. Hasn't found him yet. Maybe third time. Lucky. So the thing is this, that offenders, this is the thing, if we offend devotees, after a while we may understand, oh, I've made a mistake, big mistake, and then correct ourselves. And of course that's good. We have to do that. But if one has been too much of an offender, one still may not be allowed to stay in Vrindavan. Because you can be a devotee anywhere. You can be a devotee in Potomac, Washington, D.C. You can. You don't have to be in Vrindavan. But, yeah, you can't stay in Vrindavan if you've been too much of a devotee. So, yeah, Madhvacharya makes the following comment. Listen to this. One who simply thinks with devotion that the punishment which the Supreme Lord is giving me is actually mercy towards me. So such a person indeed becomes pious. You know, from time to time it happens that we may get tested or go through some, trying, difficult situation, painful situation even. Did that ever happen to any of you? Happen to you? You can ask her if you want to know what it's like. I think it's happened to all of us. Many of us have lost our parents, isn't it? You reach a certain age and parents pass away. Or even occasionally, sometimes someone's child passes away. Or just some other person very close to you. So that's very hard to deal with. So he says that anyone who looks on such a situation, that this is punishment which the Lord is giving me, but is actually mercy, that person indeed becomes pious. But those who continue, even after punishment from the Lord, they continue to envy him, their attitude is the reason for their continuing to be unable to recognize him. Did you catch that? Slightly difficult English. Yeah, that attitude of, they're punished by the Lord, but they think that, why did he punish me? He shouldn't punish me. I'm a good guy. This is not good. God is doing something wrong. He's envious of the Lord. He's not accepting the punishment as mercy. Continues to envy the Lord. So that attitude is the reason for their continuing to be unable to recognize how he is working in their lives. Because if you examine your life carefully enough in a Krishna conscious way, you'll see that Krishna has been doing many things with you for many years, particularly if you're a devotee. You'll be able to recognize the hand of the Lord in different events in your life. But if you're envious of the Lord, then you won't be able to recognize his presence. And you'll just say, it was bad luck or something. It was the other people, they cheated me. Something, just the blame game. Blame other people. And you won't be able to see that actually the Lord intervened in my life, maybe to punish me, maybe to help me. Yes, so, devotees, Carl, tell me, what time do we go till?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Anytime, God.
Anytime, Maharaj.
Anytime. Okay. Well, look, it's 8 o'clock, but 8 o'clock. Say 10, 11. Mangalati's 4:30. Anyway, it's all right. I'm joking. Just a little more. I'm going to say something. I'm not going to just say, but read some things and point out some things about enviousness. Non-enviousness. You know, in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 1. Anyone know what is Bhagavad Gita chapter 9, verse 1 without looking at your iPhone? Krishna says, my dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall now impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you will be relieved of all the miseries of material existence.
Raj Yoga, like king of yoga.
Well, that's the next verse. Yeah. This is chapter 9, verse 1. Yeah, right. I forget the Sanskrit offhand. But yeah, that's the translation. Because you're never, not because you're sometimes not envious of me, but because you're never envious of me, I will give you this knowledge. Yeah, earlier Krishna said, Bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasum hyetaduttamam. Because you are my devotee and my friend, I will now impart this knowledge to you. And I sort of repeating the same idea, because you're never envious of me, I'll give you the most confidential knowledge, through which you'll be relieved of all the miseries of life in this world. And one of our acharyas, Srila Baladeva Vijayabhushan, he comments on that verse. He gives a type, you could say, of definition of envy. He says that envy means that a person will look at another person and search to find faults, even in the midst of many good qualities. They'll look at a person, like Prabhuji here, look at him, and look to see, what faults can I see? Actually, there's so many good qualities, but we won't bother with them. We'll just look past them, look around them, look through them, and try and see, look, I found a fault. He hasn't buttoned up the top button of his coat. Oh no. Oh, aparad. Quarter aparad. It's serious. Or, what else? Look at him. He's sitting on a chair. He's not sitting on the ground. Oh no. Kaliya. I'm sitting on a chair too, but anyway. So yeah, right, that's interesting, isn't it? Right. Let's just talk a little bit about this, just a little bit. What to do about envy, how to see, how to understand it, how to counteract it. One thing, in Nectar of Instruction, I forget which verse it is, but it's one of the verses. The verse says, one should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances, not just mentally, but bow down to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, diksha, and is engaged in worshipping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who's advanced in in undeviated devotional service, and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others, free from envy. And it's the only quality he mentions. I mean, pure devotee, okay, but in terms of like personal quality, his heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. Yes. So in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 9, Prabhupada gives a sort of a formula what to do if you hear insults, blasphemy of other devotees. So if someone is heard blaspheming devotees by words, one should be so expert that he can defeat the opposing party by argument. If he's unable to defeat the blaspheming, criticizing person, then the next step is that he should not just stand there meekly, but, are you ready? She should sit down, because sit down is pretty dramatic. Don't just stand there meekly, but you should give up your life. Are you ready? Yeah. The third process is followed if he's unable to execute these two processes. And that is, one must leave the place and go away. If a devotee does not follow any of these three processes, he falls down from his position of devotion. So either you've got to defeat the person that, don't speak like that, and explain why not. If you're not able to do that, then just commit suicide. TK. But if you can't do either of those two things, just go away. Yeah. But if you don't do any of these three, means particularly if you just stand there and hear more blasphemy and criticism, then you'll fall down from your position of devotion. Yeah, we could go on for a while here. In fact, we probably will, actually. There's a story about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Very interesting story. He would, from time to time, take the train with a group of devotees, like city to city, town to town. During the day, they travel to the next town or city. Then they'd get out there, do a program, like a hall program in the evening, and the next day, they'd go get on another train and go to the next town or city. So they were doing this one time, and they noticed, there was one night, there was one man there, and he put his hand up at the end, questions time, and he asked sort of like a nasty question. Actually, I don't know exactly what it was like an aggressive, critical type of question. Why do you people do something, kind of offensive question. The next day, they were in the next town having their program. Same man was there. And again, he did the same thing. And the next day, in the next town, he was there, and same thing. And this happened like for about 10 days. Every night. He had some sort of nasty, critical type of question or comment to make. One day, one night, he was not there. And the devotees found out he'd had a heart attack and died. Somehow they found out. And they went to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and said, this is what happened. It's a great day. Let us celebrate. This demon has been struck down by the Lord. Then they saw that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was crying. And they couldn't understand, why is he crying? Why are you crying? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, that man was my friend. He was trying to help me become a better devotee. And he quoted his father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He who criticizes me is my friend. He who praises me is my enemy. Yeah. Interesting. Yes, right. So let's carry on. There's one or two other things I'd like to just touch on if I can find it. Yeah. Now, this is very interesting. This is from the purport of Bhagavad Gita chapter 5, verses 18 and 19. Listen to that. Listen to this. The 6 Goswamis were dear not only to the other devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but to the non-devotees as well. A pure devotee's position is that he has no enemy because he is not envious. A pure devotee is always open to everyone, and he does not discriminate that this person can be allowed to chant Hare Krishna and that person should not be allowed. On the material platform, which is a platform of dualism, there are differences between high and low, man and woman, and this or that. But on the spiritual platform, there are no such distinctions. The pure devotee, seeing everything with an equal mind, is therefore non-envious. Because he is non-envious, he is worshipable. Indeed, it may even be said that a person is worshipable simply if he is non-envious. For it is only possible to be non-envious if one is on the spiritual platform. That is also the verdict of Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, so we should become non-envious. Or, I mean, you're all nice devotees. I'm sure many of you are non-envious, but, you know, we should all try to become non-envious. But the way to do that is not just to sort of like artificially start glorifying everyone, you know, something like that. But to actually become advanced in Krishna consciousness. Like Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, he would, this is Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ancha Lila 13, 133. He would not listen to blasphemy of a Vaishnava, nor would he listen to talk of a Vaishnava's misbehavior. He knew only that everyone was engaged in Krishna's service. He did not understand anything else. Anyway, that's very high, and we are not so high. But if we really try to progress in Krishna consciousness, then gradually we'll find that we become less and less prone to be critical and envious of other people. It's by the development, as a result of the development of Krishna consciousness, and not just, you know, some sort of mental effort. Of course, we should also make an effort. If we see our minds are thinking in some, you know, unpleasant way about particularly some other devotee, then we must stop that and tell our minds, you know, you stop that. But the real change, the deeper change, takes place through advancement in chanting, in serving, like that, yeah. Yes, okay, devotees. So there we go. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Yes, any comment, question? Yes, Prabhu.
I just had a short story to share.
Okay.
So we're talking about bad people in the audience, this story with Bhaktisiddhanta and the man always asking critical questions. So I was with Prabhupada in 75 in Hyderabad, and he was giving an outside public program. And at the end they asked for questions. So this one man came up, took the to the edge of the stage with the microphone, and he said, "Swamiji, if everyone believes in Krishna as much as you, how will the world go on?" Kind of a silly question. And so we're thinking what Prabhupada would say. Prabhupada said, "You will not take, so the world will go on." So Prabhupada was pretty sharp at the answer.
So sharp.
Yeah. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you. There was one man, just something along somewhat similar lines. There was one man who came to visit Prabhupada in Bombay, and the man was Indian man, but he was a meat-eating fanatic. Yeah, like a promoter of meat-eating. People should eat meat. And he came to Prabhupada and said, look at the Indian men. They're all skinny weaklings. It's because they don't eat meat. And he went on like that for a minute or two. And somehow they let him in to meet with Prabhupada. They shouldn't have let him in, actually. So then Prabhupada, in the room with Prabhupada was Brahmananda. Brahmananda was big size, the ex-New York heavyweight wrestling champion. He was the real thing. And Prabhupada said to the man, "Listen, you see this man here? He is vegetarian. He can kill you with one hand." That was the end of that. Yes.
I have a question. In the beginning of the lecture, you mentioned that Krishna killed some demons, but he did not kill Kaliya.
Yes.
And I wonder, is it because Kaliya represents a quality that can be engaged in devotional service, perhaps?
I
or
see.
Would you please comment on that?
Okay. Well, it's not exactly that. The thing is that Kaliya, unlike other of the, so many other at least, of the demons who Krishna did kill, Kaliya had a good wife, or actually wives, in fact, who were devotees. And they would try and preach to him, but he would just sort of, disregard what they said. But now he got the idea. It had made some impression on his mind. So even though he was demoniac, but somewhere in the back of his mind was some Krishna consciousness which he'd heard from his wives. And therefore, when he was just about to die, the other demons, they would just have died. But no, he understood, he got it. I must surrender. And even though he was not capable of speaking, at least in his mind he thought, "My Lord, I'm yours." So it's very important for men to have, for a man to have a good wife. It's a fact. Yeah. And it's also very important for wives to have good husbands. But, yeah, that was the case with Kaliya.
So means he just had a good association.
Yeah, good association, yeah. Right. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful lecture. I was reflecting as you were speaking. There's a lot of homework for me, so thank you so much. Maharaj, I had a question about envy. So, when we see the pastimes of Lord Krishna, whether it is killing the demons or even the pastimes with the demigods, where we saw a pastime of Govardhan Lila and the other pastime of Brahma Vimoha Lila, where he steals the calves and the boys. So even there, we see a mood of envy within the demigods, right? So I guess I'm just trying to understand, the demigods are in the mood of goodness.
Some of them.
So are they
Sometimes.
still affected by this quality of envy?
Yeah.
And how do we understand that? Because we have the demons and the demigods
Right.
showing the same characteristic.
Sort of. Yeah, the thing is that the demigods, and basically it means all the demigods are devotees. But particularly other than Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva, they are mixed devotees. They have tendencies, under certain circumstances, they'll get deviated. And Lord Indra is the prime example. As you probably know, there have been quite a number of incidents with him, particularly with women, but in other situations also, that, he just got overwhelmed materially and he just fell down. But he's a devotee. He's actually a devotee. So generally the demigods are not pure devotees. They're mixed devotees. And when someone is a mixed devotee, it means, they're basically a devotee, but there are other things mixed in. If they're not careful, under certain circumstances, the mixed things will come out and show themselves. And they may lose control then and fall down. Yeah. In the case of Lord Brahma, he's the head of our sampradaya. So he's actually a pure devotee. So he stole the cowherd boys and calves. It was Krishna's arrangement. It's like Arjuna, he's a pure devotee. But Krishna placed him in illusion to educate us, actually. So Brahma was placed in illusion to educate us. Not that he actually just got into illusion as, sometimes some devotees do. Yeah. So, and Indra, well, like I said, he's mixed. But first of all, amongst the demigods, first is Lord Shiva, then there's Lord Brahma, next is Lord Indra. He's third. Yeah, so he's actually a great personality. But in these pastimes, those particular pastimes, the Lord has used them because they're just so prominent. So prominent. If he just, in the Govardhan Lila, if he just took one of the minor demigods, then, it wouldn't be such a sort of vivid pastime with such vivid lessons to be learned, but because Indra is so prominent, so famous, therefore, everybody will take note. Yeah. So it's like that. These things are going on to educate people by the Lord's arrangement. And the Lord engages these prominent people in these situations that you would just not expect them to get into. But he arranges it like that for us to learn. Yeah. Because I mentioned the other day, I don't know if you were there, that when Lord Indra came to apologize, you were there, then Indra started apologizing. And Krishna stopped him and said, no, I'm the offender. Yes, you should forgive me, please. Because that's Krishna. What a quality of character. It's just amazing. Yes, he didn't become sort of pompous and say, yes, you offended me, you nonsense, and you better make up for it, otherwise, we'll kick you out or something like that. Yeah, Krishna was very humble. So that's the idea. So have I answered your question?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for the beautiful class. It's always when you explain, it's pretty much like we see that beautiful the explanation. It is very heart touching. Thank you very much, Maharaj. And many moral lessons also in today's class. Thank you for that. One question, Maharaj, because of the association and after the heart beating, Kaliya's heart is also changed towards Krishna. So you mentioned that he was banished
Yes.
from that place.
Yes.
So is there a mention of at the end of his life he will be going back to Godhead or any?
Not actually. There's not mention of that.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, in some sort of related cases, there's mention of that specifically, but not actually in this case. But having said that, he was accepted as a devotee. But now he has to be a devotee in separation. Yeah, he's placed in separation. So we would assume that he would go back to Godhead at the end of that life.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we would assume that. Yeah.
Krishna also touched him very much. Krishna's lotus feet is on his head.
Well, that's a point, yeah, I should have mentioned. I just forgot. People like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are praying, if I can get one speck of dust from Krishna's lotus foot on my head, it'll just be the greatest day of my life. But Kaliya was just getting beaten and beaten and beaten and beaten and beaten with those same lotus feet. So what mercy! It's just, we cannot imagine what to speak of, understand. Incredible mercy.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is also a factor in his becoming corrected.
Yes, Maharaj.
Right.
Thank you so much again, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Thank you so much for a wonderful session. Was there a particular reason that Balaram had to ask Krishna to stop the pastime as opposed to Krishna stopping to prevent any anxiety or misery?
Yeah, because otherwise Krishna wouldn't stop. He would have because he was intending to kill him. That was his idea. And he deserved it, basically. Yeah, but Balaram, in terms of the Lila, Balaram is the senior. And Balaram is known as the crest jewel of the intelligent. Balaram is extremely intelligent. In all sorts of ways, including like interpersonal dealings, how to deal, how not to deal. So Balaram could see that even though these people have spiritual bodies, they're about to die. So he tells Krishna, please, you must stop this pastime. Otherwise, it'll be too painful for you. So Balaram is sort of, what would you say, exhibiting, not exactly, but anyway, displaying, showing his position as the senior. Yeah, otherwise, Krishna would have probably, he was just on the edge of dying. So it's like that. There are different instances in the pastimes where Balaram displays this intelligence and, some even impossible situations suddenly just get sorted out by Balaram's expertise. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Yes.